Well, first of all, thank you guys for your patience and thank you for being here. Today, it's my pleasure to announce, along with all of our partners that are standing here with us, of course, our great state attorney, Phil Archer, and Primus, who apparently is making his presence known, to announce the Brevard County Strangulation Prevention Program. And this is a unique program. While there are some others in the country, this is the only program that we know of in the state of Florida that is actually taking the lead, taking the opportunity to try and accomplish two goals. And those two goals are essentially this: getting victims to recognize the significance and the serious nature of strangulation. So many times we see repeated attacks on victims of domestic violence. Strangulation seems to be one of the key components of domestic violence, one of the key ways that they are attacked. And what we actually see is that the victims often don't recognize the nature, the danger of the repeated attacks. Sometimes they lose consciousness. Sometimes they trying to forget it themselves, suppress it. And one of the goals of this mission is, of this program, is to get out to our citizens, get them aware of the dangers of this. The second goal is to work hand in hand with our state attorney's office and all of the partners you see here today to make sure that we are getting the very best evidence to take these cases to court, giving our state attorney the very best tools that they can possibly have to take these cases to court so that the offenders are held accountable for these actions. Those are our two primary goals. I'll give you some details about it. For the past year, we have partnered with community health nurses from the Department of Health, researchers from UCF Sociology Department, prosecutors of our state attorney's office, the Domestic Violence Unit, Domestic Violence Shelter administrators from Serene Harbor and the Salvation Army, and the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence to address the problems associated with successful prosecution of the crime of felony domestic battery by strangulation. This is one of the deadliest acts of domestic violence. Our agency alone has investigated and arrested the perpetrators of 2 domestic homicides by strangulation just in the past year and a half. In fact, around the same time, we decided to try and tackle this problem. Strangulation is the ultimate form of power and control. The offender literally controls the victim's next breath. Victims of non-fatal strangulation are 7 times more likely to become a victim of homicide. The more often strangulation is used to control a partner, the more likely the victim is to suffer traumatic brain injuries. In prior studies, 62% of the victims of strangulation had no visible injuries. To address this challenge, the Sheriff's Office is implementing a new protocol which involves educating the public as well as offering victims of non-fatal strangulation an examination by a nurse who is specifically trained in recognizing the signs and symptoms associated with this type of attack. Essentially, as I said, we are trying to capture every piece of evidence possible so that we can take these individuals to court, hold them accountable, and make sure that they never have the opportunity to harm someone else. As I said earlier, our 2 goals: getting out recognition through crime prevention efforts and awareness, and the second is developing the protocols that you'll see in place and hear talked about today. By enhancing our response as a community, we'll be able to hold the offenders accountable for their actions and meet our ultimate goals. So essentially, we're talking about a tremendous program, a tremendous effort from everyone that you see behind us that has that design to protect our citizens, to protect victims of domestic violence, and ultimately, we would love to prevent domestic violence. Right along with that, just as importantly, is preventing it from happening again to someone. Because we know all too often in domestic violence cases, the victim is repeatedly attacked, oftentimes unable to get help, and that's one of the problems, one of the things that we're addressing, is trying to make sure they know the resources that are out there, trying to make sure they know the available people that will come to their rescue, come to their aid. And that's what this program is about. So another unique program that I believe is critical to our community, a program that is a partnership, and you've heard me talk about it before. It takes a community to protect a community, and that's what we're doing here. And I think we have a representative from the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Is Steve here?
I'm here.
Steve, you want to come up and add to that?
No, ma'am.
You don't think you can top that?
I'll top that.
All right. So I have Cindy Young from our agency and Jesse Holden who are here. You guys have any questions? What can we answer for you? Our state attorney obviously is here as well.
Yeah, maybe this is a question for the state attorney. Just how hard is it? Because the sheriff said, there's an issue when it comes to possibly charging some of these people, making sure that they get charged and held accountable. So has it been difficult here in Brevard County, taking these suspects to court and getting them charged and convicted?
Well, and the key to this program is collecting that evidence at a very crucial stage, and that is at the very beginning. You know, unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, victims become reluctant to go forward, to be cooperative, and so a lot of times you're relying on that initial assessment, that initial collection of evidence. And what this program does is give that training to the officers that first come into contact with the victim advocates, with the prosecutors, whoever it might be, so that they have an opportunity to explain to the victim not only the seriousness of these kind of cases, but also to provide them and provide us a mechanism of collecting that really crucial evidence that in the past might have been missed, might not have been collected, would not be available to us, you know, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road when we have some issues with cooperation. You know, now by being able to collect that evidence and having that, it makes our case a lot stronger. And in a lot of cases, we may be able to proceed even if we have an uncooperative victim. And so we're very fortunate. And you know, my Linda Barnett, who's been with my office for 22 years, Division Chief of Domestic Violence, you know, she came to me and said, we need this program. And she's worked hand in hand with the other team. Where I echo what the sheriff said. You know, we could stand here and look good at this, but it's this team behind us that really worked hard to put this together. But this is extremely important to us as prosecutors.
And as prosecutors, with this program, will you help fight for higher bonds as well?
Absolutely. You know, the strangulation charges are felonies, so that will help justify not only a higher bond, you know, longer prison sentence, more enhanced conditions of probation, whether it's different types of classes that they may have to attend. So yeah, it just adds to everything that we're able to do. It gives us more tools.
And Sheriff, just go ahead and talk to the people out there who have not come forward here in Brevard County, the victims out there. And just talk to them about why they need to come to you ASAP.
Yeah, you know, and I would say regardless if they come to us, which would be obviously the first thing we'd like for them to do, or if they seek help through one of our amazing domestic violence shelters that's here, or through any of the programs that are available, they need to seek help. They need to seek somebody to help them walk through this. Oftentimes there's so many reasons they don't come forward. They might be embarrassed. They're intimidated. They may feel that there's nowhere to turn. And sometimes we see it, they don't want to give up. They don't want to give up on what they walked into, what they, you know, were believing was the future for them. And that's where, you know, we want to be able to stand there and be able to help. And there's so many great organizations in Brevard County that offer that assistance to them. So the message to them would be, please get somebody that can help you walk through this. Get somebody, there's help out there. There's absolutely great organizations out there that are standing ready to help. We just need you to reach out for us.
As someone who looks at the arrest list reports more often than not, there's two things that stand out. One is that unfortunately more often than not there's a case of domestic violence in this county every day. And the second is that very often, it seems like, almost more often than not, it involves strangulation. Why is that so common, the strangulation aspect?
You know, I will tell you this, and you said, you know, you see it every day and you know, each week. This is a problem across the nation, a problem across the globe that we see. And I can go back, if none of you guys in the room will be able to go back this far, but I can go back to when I was in patrol and responding to calls. And the number one thing that we were responding to was domestic violence. So it's not new. It's a problem that has been around for forever. And it's something that we're trying to get a grip on. And when you look at the strangulation aspect of it, I think it simply comes down to rage. I think it comes down to being out of control themselves. And if you look at strangulation, as we said earlier, it's a control mechanism. They are trying to control their victim. They are trying to make sure that they know who's in charge. And quite frankly, they're out of control themselves. So we really encourage our victims to come forward. And if you're somebody that's living in a relationship that there is violence, that there is emotional distress that's put upon you, intimidation, you're a victim. And while it's hard to accept sometimes that we're a victim of something, the only way that we can offer to help or be there to help is if we have contact with you. So we would certainly encourage it. And Jesse or Cindy, or I don't know if any of you guys want to add to that. Anything else?
And I know you touched briefly on how big of a problem this is around the state here in Brevard County, but just reiterate, like, have you seen numbers increase over the last couple of years, or?
So I don't know if you want to, I can tell you, you know, there's been 2 homicides from domestic violence strangulation here in Brevard County in about the past year and a half. And that's the cases that unfortunately we know about. And I say unfortunately because those cases ended in someone losing their life. There are many, many, many more cases out there that we don't hear about, that the victim doesn't get a chance to come and talk to us. And so those cases, those numbers are unaccounted for. And those are the ones that this program is really reaching out to. You know, obviously, a big part of this is the collection of evidence, the collection of being able to give our prosecutors the exact tools of evidence they need. There's another part of this too, and that is to develop a program, and we have partnered with UCF on a number of different initiatives. We're developing a program that others can take and use as a template to implement this same program in their community. And I don't care if that community is another county in the state of Florida or anywhere across the country. This program is one that everybody can use. No sense in reinventing the wheel. Obviously, we are always receptive to input and things that we can make this program better with, but the ultimate goal is to have this program go across the board to help everybody. I'll close out. I'll thank all of our partners so much for not just this program, but everything they do in this community to make Brevard County the great place it is to live in. And thank you guys. You guys are always great about helping us get our message out to the community, our awareness levels and everything else. So on behalf of the 1,500 proud men and women of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, we truly thank you. Thanks, everybody.